Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Factorio. This is going to be the first of quite a few tutorial series I'm going to be doing and uploading to the channel. So stick around and see what else, let's learn some stuff together, because this is also going to be a refresher for me. Now, I've set up a few basic things you're going to want to learn how to use at the start of this game. As you can see, I got belts, inserters, just basically some arrays going right now to kind of demonstrate on how everything works in this game, at least for the starting stuff. Now, the main thing we're going to be focusing on are belts, inserters, chests, piping, and also assemblers I got down here. And then I have a bit of a power pole display also. So, without further ado, we're going to get started on belts first. There are three main belts in this game. Yellow belts, or T1 belts I like to call them. There are red belts, or T2 belts, or blue belts, or T3 belts. Now, each one of these belts has a different rate at which they can transport items. Yellows are 15 items a second, reds are 30 items a second, and blues are 45 items a second. There are ratios in this game you can master, so we'll get into that a little bit later. Now, as you can see, we're going to do a little demonstration here on belt speed. Let me fill these up real fast. And as you can see right now, this is the rate of speed at which items will flow on this belt. So, yellows are obviously the slowest, which are the starter belts, so you can do a lot with these, so don't be alarmed. Reds basically pick up the speed and double from yellow, so whatever your ratios are for basically making stuff on yellow belts, you double it for red belts. Now, blue belts, they're not a doubler. You only get 15 more a second, unfortunately, but you can actually do a lot of cool stuff with blue belts. So blue belts are essentially the fastest belts that you can make and get. And just because I set it up like this or whatever, you can kind of use chests as buffers and everything too, but we'll get into that later. Right now we are just focusing on belts. So the next thing is going to be undergrounds, which are going to be these things, underground belts. There's same ratios, T1, T2, T3, which are yellow, red, and blue. We have 15 for yellow, we have 30 for red, and we have 45 for blue. So what these basically do now is allow you to have a gap in between. Say, normally you cannot build over another belt. Like, you could change the direction of the belt, etc., but you cannot build over it directly. So, if you wanted to say, let's bring a belt this way, you can't. So you need what we call an underground. Now, T1 underground yellow belts, you can basically use up to a maximum length of 5. So you can drag that from there to down to here, which will give you 4 spaces in between to drag anything you want. And items will basically transverse from one side to the other. Even though you can't see them, they're still going, so that's good. And it allows you to build a path of belts or something else on top of them, uninterrupted. And yes, these belts right here will be able to have items on them also, and not have to worry about being interrupted or congesting with another belt. Now, next ones are going to be reds. Reds are T2, which is also 30 items per second, but they actually give you a maximum length of 7. So, if I were to put this one here, let's pick this one up and pick this one up, I can drag this one down all the way to here, which gives you 6 spaces now versus the initial 4 on the yellow belts. So you can just gives you more room to drag additional things, and it lets you cross greater distances. If you, let's say you wanted to drag from here to here, a red belt would allow you to, as to where a yellow belt would not let you traverse this entire distance. So it would only let you come up to here. So you would need a red belt to go across this much space. And basically we have blue belts too, which are a distance of 9, so they just add an additional 2 more spaces, as you can see. And all these undergrounds are basically the same speed as this assembly is going right here. So they will, all items on these belts will traverse at the same speeds for these undergrounds. Now, next, we are going to get into splitters. Now, I'm going to use this as an example. We're only going to have, we'll do one side split. Let me see if I can get this going. Alright, no output. Okay, so we just got to toss in a little bit. Let's take this stuff. Oh, never mind. I see what's going wrong. We're gonna have to do it like this. Bear with me, guys. I just kind of set this up as a demonstration. There we go. Now everything is splitting right. And then we'll fill these chests up so we can actually see what everything looks like splitting. Alright. Now, what my inserters are doing now is they're just basically acting as a feed for the belts. So I can show you how a splitter works. Now, splitters will basically split anything that is inputted into them into a group of 2. So this is splitting items at a rate of, I believe it's 15 per second. Reds are going to be going 30 per second, and blues are going to be going 45 per second. Now, it is an input of 30, and it is splitting into 2 15s, as you can see right here. So keep that in mind when you're using these for ratios. Now, this is going at a true 15 a second split, so it has a 45 input, but it is basically being consumed completely. So we'll put another one down just to show you guys. Alright, there we go. Now, as you can see, it's got 2 45s inputting, and it is splitting at a full, well, once autosave goes, now it is being basically saturated at both 30 at the full 15 splits, so this is going to be a 15 and 15 fully saturated belt if both sides of this were completely saturated. Which we will do like this just to show you guys. We'll put that there. Let me hook this up like this, and then we'll hook this up like this. Now, see? 2 full inputs, and it's completely saturating this belt. So 1 blue belt will fully saturate 2 yellow belts very easily. The same thing, 1 blue belt will almost fully saturate 2 red belts. And then obviously blue belt will not completely saturate each other unless you have 2 full blues coming in. Alright, let's move on to the next thing, which are going to be power poles. We have 4 different types of power poles in this game. We have your basic wooden pole, which is small electric, which gives you a radius of what this blue square is, and this will power anything within that blue square radius. Next, we have medium poles, which you get a little later in the game, which obviously you can see have a much larger power radius, and you can plop those down, and anything within this blue square now is going to be able to supply power. Now, mid to late game, you get what we call substations. This is basically a giant AoE square box of power you can plop down. As you can see, I've got substations down powering all this assembly array, which anything within the blue box is being powered. And last but not least, we have big electric poles. These are not so much used for powering like complexes as much as they are stretching power poles over a distance, as you can see by the wire, and then I can attach like a small pole like right there and there, etc. They're good buffers to span power over long distances. And then what normally people do on some big poles is you can literally toss a radar down right next to it, and this will reveal the map in a good square around this area. If you look at my mini map on the right hand side, that blue square which is moving around is actually the amount of radar coverage you would get. Alright, let's get these taken down, and let's get moving on to chests. Chests are something you're also going to have early game. You're going to have your basic wooden chest, which only stores 16 items. And to limit them, you're going to left click this X, and then you can drag these red squares to however many spaces you want filled, and then left click. And then to clear it, you just click the X again, and then reset it to whatever you want. Or if you want the chest to be completely full, just leave it as is, and then as you can see in this one, it will, anything that is inputted into the chest by inserters will basically fill the chest up and until it is full. And then when it is full, if it can't output anything, it'll act as a storage chest. Or if you have inserters on each side, this chest is basically a buffer chest now that will allow you to output stuff to belts or machines and have extra resources. And then the next one you're going to get is an iron chest. Iron chests are just a little bit more storage space. It doubles to 16 slots versus a wooden chest, and it uses iron plates versus wood from trees to make. And the last one is going to be a steel storage chest, which uses a combination of, let me find it real fast. Here we go. It just uses steel plates to build. And then it gives you 48 capacity. So you get 16, 32, and then the 48. So steel chests obviously are the best. And each one, wood chests do not have a lot of hit points, as you can see right here. Literally, adamantium, uranium rounds in my gun are literally one-shotting this chest. Iron have a little bit more hit points, as you can see. It's taking a little bit more damage. And then steel obviously have the most. So it would take 4 shots to nuke a steel chest. Moving on, pipes. There are only 2 types of pipes in this game. Regular pipes right here, and then undergroundy pipes, which are just like underground belts, which allow you to jump over things up to a distance of 10. So, and then you just connect them up like this. As you can see, I've already kind of made like a little design. And I'll do one more just to show you guys. Put one down there. You drag it however far you want up to the maximum distance. You reverse it by clicking R for the direction you want the pipe to go, and then you click again. You need a connection of 2 like this for this underground pipe to be connected. If you only have one, this is going to be the end of the line for this pipe. Now you can use a normal pipe like this to basically make a right-hand turn, a left-hand turn, or you can go up more. So basically you can make a giant X intersection by just using a single pipe as a connection point. Now, all the fluid flowing north going up this way from this bottom pipe will basically be split 3 different ways now. So keep that in mind too for future references. Pumps basically act as fluid pressure increasers. I tend to use them if you use a standard layout like this, which is called a city block. It is, let's see, we got power pole here, 1, 2. Basically, rule of thumb is, let me see if I can find my ruler. I don't have it up right now, but I'll go make one real fast just to show you guys out of big electric poles. We will have an electric pole. Let's have a max length one there. We will do another max length one right here. And then this one should be max length of right about here. So a grid of about 3 electric poles, maybe 4. You want to put a pump over vast distances if you're transporting fluid. Now pumps need power to be to actually work. So say you need that, you can put a small power pole right next to it like that. Or if you want to be sneaky about it, you can actually put them right next to the big power pole, but you're only going to get 1 pump next to this pole, unfortunately. So if you want to make a bus line of multiple different fluids and multiple different pumps side by side, you're going to kind of need to do something, well, you can do something like this where it's 3x3, 3x3 with a medium in between, or you could use a substation right next to the big pole, and then that would cover a 7x7 easy. And then you just connect your undergroundies, and you can drag them up to the next pump point and add another pump, let's say up about right here in this grid area, and this will basically keep these pipes running at almost maximum pressure and giving you almost maximum amount of fluid that can travel through a pipe at any given time, which is going to be, oh, sorry about that. And let me go to pipes. It does not actually say, but I believe the pressure in pipes is like 100. Let me zoom over to my other factory area. I can show you. Let me find my oil. Here we go. See, if you look in the right-hand corner right over here, pumping speed is going to be basically out of 12,000 a second, and pipe lubricant velocity is going to be max of 100. And this is pumping petroleum at 90 out of 100, but it is maxed out at 547 a second almost. So just kind of keep that in mind. And I got it hooked up to a tank, so it is pumping at pretty much maximum efficiency. 100 out of 100 would be better if I was fully utilizing the line, but that's just that kind of pipes in a nutshell. All right, let's move on to the next thing you guys are going to be using a lot. Get my exoskeleton on so I can get over here. All right. Which are going to be inserters. Inserters now are what are going to drive your factory. These things, as you can see them move, I kind of got a little display up and going. Move items from belts to chest into machines into whatever you can think of. Science labs. Inserters run your factory, plain and simple. Yellow inserters, which are basically T1 inserters, your starting inserters. These will be the backbone of your early game factories. These can move items at a rate of 1 per... Let me see... Okay, it's literally 302 degrees a second. I don't know the exact ratio of them, unfortunately. Sorry about that. But as you can just see by watching them, they're slow. So, I mean, they work in the early game. I mean, you can build a lot out of them. And then, next moving on is to longhand inserters. I will show you... Let me get one of these bad boys out. These are basically a 1x1 range. So, you're going to pick up from here, and they are going to deposit there. So, literally one tile, middle tile is inserter. Next tile would be whatever you want the inserter to input an item onto. Next would be longhand inserters. These give you a range of 2. So, there's going to be one space. Right here, nothing is going to get picked up or put down by this inserter. So you can have another line going here. As you can see in my little display here, this is pulling from the second belt, which is one space down, and it is inputting into the second belt area up here. And these have basically a rotation of 432 degrees a second, a little bit faster than your standard inserter. So it's not the fastest inserter in the game, but it does do its job for when you got to pull from multiple different lines. Next is the fast inserter. These are the early game fastest inserters you're going to get. So they have a max rotation of 864 degrees a second. And as you can see, they still pick up 1 and 1, and they just do it at almost double and a half, 3, 6, 9, almost 3 times the speed of a normal inserter. So they can really pump out the materials off your belts into whatever you need them. Next is going to be a filter inserter. Now, this is a purple one. It is going to be a standard 1x1. It is also the equivalent to a fast inserter speed. So, and you can set here in this either whitelist or blacklist. I just leave it on whitelist. And you can basically tell this inserter what you want it to pick up by going through the menu, various menus of everything in the game. If this was a mixed belt of 2 different things, you could basically tell this to pick up only refined concrete, and it would only pick up refined concrete, no matter what else was on this belt. So that's a good way to kind of help sort your belts. The next is going to be what we call the stack inserter. It is a 1 tile by 1 tile inserter. So you'll have your belt, you have your inserter, and then you'll have where it's going into. These are also fast inserters per speed. But what stack inserters do now is they pick up multiple items at a time. As you can see, it is picking up, mine are actually upgraded to the max, so they're picking up 12 items per group versus either a one-on-one, or when these are max upgraded, these are only 3 items per group. But otherwise, these would normally be 1, and then early game, these would be like 3 to 4, somewhere in that range. Next would be the stack filter inserters, which are identical to the filter inserters, where you can basically select what you want them to pick up. You only get one option though. You can only select one thing you want them to pick up, and they will also pick up items in bulk, like the stack inserters, as you can see here. So this would pick up a grand total of 12 cement blocks or refined concrete, and put it into whatever you want it to. Alright, moving on to the very last thing now. These are assembling machines. These will be the backbone of your factory. These make anything and everything in this game that you have to need to automate to get your factory up and running. Starting assemblers are assembling machine 1s, which are T1 units, blues are T2, and greens are T3. This is early game, this is mid game, early to mid game. You get these actually very early. This is actually kind of like T2 tech. Like right after you get done with red science, you can get these. So, and then these are very late game, which you need quite a bit more science to get. So, this is early to mid game to late game. These are end game basically. Now, each assembler has a crafting speed, and let's take a look at that. T1 assemblers, assembling machine 1s, have crafting speed of 0.05, which I believe is 0.05 a second, and then we'll go into T1 machine. We are basically making 0.05 iron plates into gears, so we are making... I forgot the ratios on these. I had a calculator, but unfortunately I don't have it loaded right now. But we'll just go over the basics. I will get into more in-depth on ratios later on. Now, T2s are a little bit of a step up for an assembler. These have a crafting speed of 0.075 modifier. So let's get, I got a few plates, okay. Actually, let me get a few more plates, and then, where are my plates? I'm going to get a few more plates in here, and then we're going to do an example of how each one of these run. So I got my logistics bots bringing me these, but right now I'm going to put these in the machine. And as you can see, I am making gears now at a rate of 0.5 seconds per craft. And you can see this bar going, and it's consuming the iron plates. So obviously they make stuff fast, but they're not the fastest machines out there. So, and they don't consume that much electricity. If you look on the right hand side right over here, they only consume 77.5 kilowatts of power, and we will get into power in another video. Alright, let's go over to these. Let me see where my plates are. Alright, I should have my plates in a second, so let's wait for these. Alright, let's take these gears out. We don't need these anymore. Come on, my little derpies. Fly to me. And we're actually going to run up here real fast. And no, this is not normal game speed run. I actually have a mod right now for faster exoskeleton. And you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to take the plates off my belts. Okay. Let's get back down here, and I will show you the rest of the assemblers now. Alright, let's turn this back off. Alright, let's put the plates in for this one. And as you can see, we are now making, even though it's still 0.05 second craft time, we now have a 0.25 more multiplier, which is increasing the rate at which you can craft gears. As you can see, it's going much, much faster. And then you can also, this has the ability to put 2 different modules into it, which modules are a whole different story, so that is just like an upgrade to that. And now the very last assemblers. These have a base modifier of 1.25 speed. So these will literally pump out anything. We'll put these in, and as you can see, look at how fast it is making these gears. Even though it's a 0.05 second base craft time, with that with the 1.25 modifier, and this is basically a machine gun of basic parts being manufactured now. And ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be a brief introduction to belts, underground, splitters, inserters, power poles, pipes, pumps, and water pumps, and then also inserters along with assembling machines. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any comments on this, or if you would like me to break this down a little bit more easier or into different subtopics, I will. Please leave the comments below and tune into the next one, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you for watching this.